Greetings, my name is Kerry and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm talking about some of the books that I'm intending to read in June. So June is the month of the Currently Reading-a-thon hosted by Sarah from Novel Serendipity. I will link down to her announcement video. The basic idea of the Currently Reading-a-thon is to clear your currently reading shelf on Goodreads. And I just, when I saw Sarah talking about it on Twitter, I was like, that is such a good idea, because I tend to stack up books on my currently reading shelf that I'm sort of making very slow progress through, and I kind of want to push myself to get through some of these. Or like I'll put books on there and then not pick, like I'll start reading a book and then not pick it up for a couple of months. I'm not trying not to do that so often, but it does mean at the moment I've got quite a few books on my currently reading shelf and I'd like to cut that down. There are prompts for the currently reading-a-thon, which Sarah explained in her video, to do with like how long a book is, how long it's been on your currently reading shelf. I'm actually not going to follow those prompts specifically. Some of these books have been on my currently reading shelf for a really long time, some of them for less long. They're a varying length. Some of them I'm aiming to finish this month and some of them I'm just aiming to make a lot more progress with. And so I've broken that down and I'll go through for each book what my goal is for that book for this month, if that makes sense, and a goal of when I am to finish reading it if I'm not going to finish it this month. But before I get into that, I just do want to mention one book that I'm not currently reading that I am going to be reading in the month of June, and that is very exciting that the Ninja Book Club is back. Yay! It's been a long 6 months without it and I really love this book club, so I'm so excited it's back, and I'm really excited about the first book that we're going to be reading, which is called The Magician's Lie by Greer McAllister. So this book is about the amazing Arden, who is the most famous female illusionist of her day, and she is suspected of murdering her husband, and the people that have already started it have said it is really, really good, so I'm really looking forward to getting into this. I'm probably going to start it about midway through the month because we have the chat right at the end of the month, so I like it to be quite fresh when I read it. But also, how beautiful is this cover as well? It's very simple but gorgeous. I love it. It glitters. And this is by Legend Press, which is a publisher. I haven't read anything from them before, so I'm very excited about that. So this is not on my currently reading shelf at the moment, but it is a book that I'm hoping to read this month. So now to my currently reading list. They're mostly in the order of what's been on the shelf the longest, although there is a slight exception to that, which I'll explain when I get to it. So the book that has been on my currently reading shelf the longest is the Book of Common Prayer, and also has Hymns Ancient and Modern. So the first half is Book of Common Prayer, the second half is Hymns Ancient and Modern. I picked this up in a secondhand bookshop shortly after I started attending an Anglican church, and the Book of Common Prayer was sort of the prayer book of the Anglican church for a large portion of its history. It tends not to be used quite so much anymore, but when I started going to an Anglican church, it was also when I just started my MA in theology and I wanted to understand a bit more of the tradition of the Anglican church. So I bought this then to read, and I did read the Book of Common Prayer part quite quickly, and then I've sort of been working my way through the hymns. I actually have worked out for each of them breakdown of the page numbers. This book has a grand total of 1400 pages and I am actually on page 1131. So I have 269 pages to go of the hymns section. Actually, I think about 20 pages at the end is just index pages, so it's maybe slightly less than that. My plan for this one, I'm not going to try and finish this one in this month. I'm going to aim to read 2 to 4 pages a day, which means if I read 4 pages a day, I will finish it within the next 2 months. The amount of pages I'll read per day does slightly depend on how many books I'm trying to get through at the same time. I've got a number of books where I've got a daily sort of page target for them. The idea being that once I finish some of them, I can read a few extra pages of some of the others. So we'll see how we go with that, but hopefully I will finish this by the end of July. That's my aim for this one. The next book on this list is another sort of quite Anglican book, I guess. This is called The Christian Priest Today by Michael Ramsey. This was recommended to me by my vicar to help me understand a bit more about the role of the vicar in the Anglican Church, and again to help me sort of understand a bit more about the tradition and history of the Anglican Church. I started reading this probably about a year ago and it's only a really, really short book. It's considered a classic. I, to be honest, have found it quite dry. I'm not got as much from it as I was expecting to. So I am on page 76 of 112. So I don't have that much left to go. I have 36 pages left to go, which is actually 6 chapters. They're quite short chapters as well. I am aiming to finish this book this month. I have also been making notes on this book as I go along, so I do need to continue to do that. But I'm aiming to read 2 chapters a week of this one, so that's about 12 pages a week. So I suppose again that would be 2 pages a day, but it's easier to read in chapter chunks. So 2 chapters a week, and I should finish this book this month. Next on my list is this book called Visages de la France Contemporain by Michel Blanc. This book is in French, if you couldn't tell. So this one I've had a really long time actually. I think I bought it from my sixth form library, so I've had this since I was about 18. And I started reading this end of last year, maybe? I can't remember. Less than a year ago. I'm about 50 pages in, and it is 288 pages, so I have 238 pages to go. So it says in French, and it's sort of short essays about the structure and economy and stuff of France, and it's designed for students, French students. So it's got like comprehension questions essentially at the end. You read the passage and then you answer some questions about it to show how much you've understood, which is probably why I bought it back in the day. I bought it from my sixth form library when it was withdrawn from there, to help me practice my French. Again, it's slightly dry and also in French. I am a bit out of practice with my French, although I did find when I was over there at the weekend that actually I got on pretty well with my understanding of it. Again, I'm aiming to read 2 to 4 pages of this per day, which is sort of essentially one short section. They're about 3 or 4 pages, each section is about 3 or 4 pages long. And if I manage to read 4 pages a day, again, this is another one that I will finish within the next 2 months. Right, next we have Grimm's Fairytales, which I've mentioned a couple of times on this channel. I have been reading this one actually probably about a year again. I think I started reading this just after the Disney read-along last year, and we've just had the Disney read-along this year. Yeah, so again, it's been about a year since I started this one. I'm on page 94 of 511, so I still have 417 pages to go of this one. I was trying to read 1 story a day, which I'm not very good at managing. Again, with this one, I'm aiming for 2 to 4 pages a day, which some of the stories are about 2 pages long, some are slightly longer, so that would be 1 or 2 stories a day should get me through that. It's going to take me about 4 months to finish this one if I read 4 pages a day, because there's quite a lot in there. But hopefully once I finish those other 2 that I mentioned, I'll be able to pick up the speed a little bit more on this one, maybe read 5, 6, maybe even 8 pages a day. We'll see how we go, and yeah, just see how long it takes me to get through this. So we're looking at probably maximum 4 months, minimum 2 to 3 months, depending on how much I read, how quickly I read it. If I can stick to 4 pages a day, then it will be 4 months that I'll finish that one. There are so many stories in here that I hadn't heard of, that I hadn't come across before. Some of them are super duper weird. Like there was this one I read the other day about a sausage. The little mouse, the little bird and the sausage. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, so hopefully we'll finish this one in the not too distant future. So the next one is like Departure. This is the ones I was talking about where it's slightly out of order for the next couple of books of how long I've been reading them. That's because of the nature of the books. So I have my 2 Miss Marple omnibuses that are both on my currently reading shelf because I've read some of the stories but not all of them in there. So this one has been on there the longest, but I'm going to talk about this one first. So this is volume 2 of the Miss Marple omnibus, which if I read through the titles and you watch my channel, some of these will sound familiar to you. So this one has a Caribbean mystery, a pocket full of rye, the mirror cracked from side to side, and they do it with mirrors in it. So of those, I've read the last 3. The only one I haven't read in this book is a Caribbean mystery, which is our next book in the Miss Marple read-along, hosted by Mara from Books Like Woe. So I just have this one story to go. It's 153 pages for that one story. So I'm aiming to finish this one this month. I will probably pick this book up next after I finish. I was going to say after I finish what I'm currently reading. All of these books I am currently reading, but it's sort of my next one because I'm trying to keep up with the rate that Mara is going through them, because she does a little wrap up at the end of every video, and I've been trying to join in some of the conversations on the Goodreads group when I can. Yeah, so I'm going to be getting to this one soon. And then in this one, this is Miss Marple Volume 3. So this one's got in it Nemesis, Sleeping Murder at Bertram's Hotel, and Murder at the Vicarage. So I've read Murder at the Vicarage, I have not read the other 3. And then they are the next 3 after A Caribbean Murder in the Miss Marple series. They're not in that order because omnibus editions are annoying like that. So I think I'm aiming to have finished 2 of them this month. I'm definitely sure Nemesis is one of them. I can't remember which of the other 2 is the next one. So I'm going to be aiming to read 2 out of these 3. If I have time to read the 3rd one as well, I will, but I'm not definitely sure that I will. Nemesis I actually do have as a single volume edition as well, so I'll probably read that in the single volume rather than in this one, because it's, although these aren't heavy, the single volume one is slightly more portable. So aiming to read 2 out of the 3 stories. This one should take me 1 to 2 months to finish, because the Marple read-along finishes in July, so there'll be 1 more book after I finished all the ones in here, and then that will be all of the Miss Marple books done. But as I say, not sure if I'll manage to read all 3 of the ones in here this month, as well as the one in the other book, because that's quite a lot of Marple. Next on my list is Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. I don't know if you can see that there. This is my lovely little new edition, when I say new to me edition, that I got in Hay-on-Wye. So I did actually start reading this book in January in my old omnibus edition that I've since replaced with this version. I have just not really prioritised it, and I'm cross at myself because I was really enjoying it. So I read a little bit over the weekend. I'm actually up to page 104 out of 528, so I have 424 pages to go. I am aiming to finish this one this month, because once I get into the style of writing, it does actually go quite quickly. I read through quite a lot over the weekend. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to actually finishing this one, and this is probably my highest priority after our Ninja Book Club book. Okay, so book number 8 out of 11 on my currently reading shelf is Uninterrupted Life by Etty Hillesum. So this is the diary of Etty Hillesum, who was a Dutch Jew who kept a diary through the war years, and then once she was taken to, I think it was Westerbork, which was a transit camp, she then wrote to her friends still in the city, and so it's got her diary and her letters. So I am on page 49 of 430, so I have 381 pages to go. This book is quite hard going sometimes because people didn't write diaries with the expectation that anyone would ever read them, so I find it a little bit hard to follow at times. I am aiming to read sort of 8 to 10 pages per day of this one, which is a little bit more than some of the others, because I don't want to take too long over it, because I am enjoying it. At the same time, I might not manage that every day, so I'm thinking it's probably going to take me maybe 2 to 3 months to finish this one at that pace, although once I get through if I get through some of the other books, then I will maybe spend a bit more time on this one. We'll just have to see how it goes really, but I am, as I say, really enjoying it, and it's quite deep as well, and I expect it will just get deeper, and I've heard it's a really powerful read, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to trying to finish this one at some point over the next couple of months. So that's that one, and then we have Inspired by Rachel Held Evans. So you may remember me mentioning this one in my wrap-up last month. Rachel Held Evans was a very inspirational feminist theologian, Christian writer. She sadly passed away at the beginning of May. It's something that has been sort of quite an emotional thing for a lot of female Christians, or a lot of people in sort of marginal communities within Christianity, because she was a really powerful mouthpiece for those who are marginalised. So I bought this book when she first got sick, because I hadn't realised I hadn't actually read any of her books. I'd read quite a lot of her blog posts, and I'd read sections of some of her books when I was doing my MA, but I hadn't read a whole one of her books, so I bought this one, and I have since actually bought the rest of her books as well. And I'm 35 pages into this one, so I've just read the first couple of chapters because I had a lot going on in the last month, so I couldn't give the time to it that I wanted to. So I do want to finish this book this month. I've got 201 pages to go. I've got 16 chapters to go, and the chapters are quite short, so I'm aiming for a chapter a day of this one to finish it up. The first sort of chapter or two that I've read I really loved. I love her writing style. It's very lyrical, very beautiful, and it makes sort of some quite complex, challenging things. She expresses them in a really beautiful way. It's a really big loss to the Christian community, her passing. It's so I'm really keen to finish this one so I can move on to some of her other books, because they all sound really inspiring. Book number 10 of 11 on my currently reading shelf is called Moon Fevers. This is a collection of poems in the Translating Feminisms by Tilted Axis Press. So I actually supported the publication of the series of chapbooks on their Kickstarter campaign. There were 3 that they were aiming to produce, and then they actually produced an additional 4th book as a thank you to the people that contributed to the Kickstarter. This is a collection of poems by the Vietnamese poet who I meant to look up how to pronounce her name and I forgot to because I'm an awful person. So I think it's Thuyēn, but I'm probably wrong, and I really do apologise because I meant to double check the pronunciation. I'm very sorry. This is a collection of poems translated from the Vietnamese. I am on page 22 of 50, so it's only a very short thing. So I've got 28 pages to go. I'm again aiming to read 2 to 4 pages today. Some of the poems are 1 page long, some are a couple of pages, so it'll be a couple of poems a day really. Not really a lot to say about that other than I'm really enjoying this series. This is the second set of poems I picked up in the series, and I'm so glad that I contributed to the Kickstarter, because who knew that translated poetry could be so powerful, but it can. So I'm trying to finish that one this month as well. And then the final book is the one I started most recently. So while I was away I was reading Oliver Twist, but I didn't want to read it on the ferry yesterday because I thought it might be too hard work. So I picked up this book, which was from my book Death Row shelf, that I've been meaning to read for a while. So this is Sisterland by Sittenfeld. I'm on page 100 of 524, so I have 424 pages to go. I am planning to finish this one this month. I was in 2 minds whether I was actually going to continue reading it, and I may still DNF it. Haven't definitely decided yet, because I like the concept. The sort of idea of the story is these twin sisters who sort of have this extrasensory perception where they can kind of predict the weather. One of them's predicted that there's going to be this big earthquake that's going to come to their town, to their area, and it jumps back and forth between when they were teenagers and sort of just becoming aware of this gift that they have to when they're adults. And the 2 sisters have taken very different paths, and one of them is a practicing psychic, and it's told from the perspective of the other one who's tried to distance herself from her abilities. So the concept I find quite intriguing, and I am interested to see how it plays out, but I'm struggling slightly with the writing style, which to me just gives a lot of unnecessary extra detail that if it had been left out it would be a much shorter book, and I would say a much better book. Like, we don't need every detail about exactly what the family are eating for dinner every night. So anyway, we'll see if I get fed up with it or if I carry it on. I am going to try and finish it, and we'll see how I go with all of these. So that is 11 books on my currently reading shelf on Goodreads, and I have 5 of them that I'm not intending to finish this month but I do want to make progress with, and I have 6 of them that hopefully at the end of the month I will be telling you that I finished, and also obviously have this one as well, which I'm hopefully gonna finish this month. That is it. That is my currently reading TBR for the currently reading-a-thon. And if I do get through all of them, I've got a load of library books still that I have out from the library, and I do also have another shelf on Goodreads called the, how do I call it, as yet unfinished shelf, which is books that I've temporarily DNF'd. So if I get through all of these and the library books, then I might tackle some of those, but that might be a video for another day about the books on there and why they're on there, or actually maybe at some point I need to just make a decision about whether I'm going to finish them or not. Who knows? Right, so anyway, so that is it for today. Let me know if you have read any of these books, if you think I should prioritise them or just give up on them. Let me know if you're taking part in the currently reading-a-thon, and how many books do you have on your currently reading shelf on Goodreads, or if you don't use Goodreads, how many books do you tend to have on the go at once? 11 is a bit much for me. I'd rather have it around the 3 or 4 mark. So Hopefully I can clear some of these this month. As I say, let me know if you're taking part. Connect with me on here or on Goodreads or on Twitter, and we can sort of compare progress as we go through the month. Really interested to see what you're currently reading. So that's all for today. So please like this video if you liked it. Please subscribe if you haven't, and connect with me on social media. All that information is listed in the description box. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.